If we just type Ionic start my app without any other parameters, it just creates the default tabs application. Since we are building hybrid applications, we can perform a lot of the development in the browser, using development tools we are already used to for web development. So I just cd into the My App project I've just created, and I type Ionic serve. This starts a local web server and opens up your default browser to the root of your application. My default browser is Chrome. I highly recommend you use Chrome for developing Ionic applications, or just generally any web applications. It's the best browser for developing Ionic apps with, and it has the best developer tools. So this is the default tabs application that Ionic generates. We've got tabs at the bottom, and we can dig into a specific chat, and we have back buttons. But this is opening up full screen. We usually want to see how the app would look on an actual device. So what we do is we go to Inspect Element, and just make sure this little mobile icon is selected, is pressed. This then gives us the option of seeing how the app would look on different devices. On the orange panel, you can select the type of device you want to load. I'm going to load an iPhone 5. Once it's loaded though, you have to refresh the page so the application will reformat into an iPhone 5 application. The blue panel lets us simulate different networks. So I'm now going to choose a GPRS network, which is a very slow network, and I'm refreshing the page. And the page refreshes a lot slower than I would expect because we're simulating a GPRS network. I've changed the view a little bit, so we've now got the application itself on the right hand side of the screen. We've got the terminal with Ionic Serve on the bottom of the screen, and on the top left of the screen I've got the application loaded in my editor. So Serve, as well as loading the project up into the web browser, also starts a live reload server. So it's checking to see if there's any changes to any of the files in our project, and if it detects some change, will automatically reload the web page. So I'm just going to go into one of the files. I'm going to change the Accounts tab to be called Moo, and when I save that, you can see in the terminal on the bottom left a message appeared saying HTML changed with the path to the file that we edited, and on the right hand side you can see that the tab that used to be called Account is now called Moo. And as well as listening to HTML files, it will also listen to any changes in your CSS or JavaScript. The Serve panel underneath the Ionic Serve command is also interactive, and there's a couple of commands that we can run directly from this panel. So typing R restarts the application. C enables or disables the outputting of console log in the terminal. And S enables and disables the server logging. G lets us go to a specific URL. And Q lets us quit. If you've exited Ionic Serve from the terminal, but you have the application set up as you want it in the browser, you can type Ionic Serve-B, and that will set up the web server and the live reloading, but it won't open up a new tab in your browser. You can type Ionic help if you want to have a review of all of the commands that Ionic provides, or if you only want help on one specific command, you can just type Ionic help and the name of the command. And the last thing I'm going to show you is a cool feature of Ionic Serve called Lab. Lab lets you see side by side the iOS and Android version of your application. So one of the really cool features of Ionic is something called platform continuity. An example of this is the tabs menu. So on an iOS, it's typical to have the tabs at the bottom of the page, and when you click on a tab, have the icon highlighted to signify that that's the active tab. And for an Android, it's typical to have the tabs on the top of the page with a small line underneath it to indicate that's the active tab. And on Android, the title is typically on the left-hand side of the page, and on iOS, it's in the middle. There are some differences in the form controls as well. And also in how the back button is rendered.